Today is Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. We had a 5:30 scheduled start. My phone, which I have just silenced, says it's 5:40 p.m. President roll call. Let me just look and see who we have instead of...
Do you want me to gather?
If you want to make a clarion call, that would be wonderful. We have Councilmember Jun, Solomon, Waterman, and Lavaro. I've seen others about the place. I think everyone's just waiting for us to get our usual late start.
Turning over a new leaf.
Need to turn over a new tree.
Okay. Should we get started?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We're gonna go a little bit out of order here. I know we have Sonia and Jeff Dublin are some celebrations tonight, I believe, right? So if you want to come up and see if we can get you out of here. No. Actually, it's Desiree's, right? It's Desiree's birthday.
Dad's birthday. Oh, that's nice.
Resolution here for Jeff.
Saltman and Plowman.
That's the last resolution, council members. That would be 1026, resolution authorizing the award of an open-ended contract to Ken's Marine Services Incorporated for salting and plowing for the Department of Public Works, Division of Sanitation.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Can I ask, say study?
You want to say something,
Yeah.
Mr. Dublin?
Yeah. I see that at 1026, they salting and deploy only $24,000 a year?
Well, for the last couple of years, we haven't had the need to use a contractor for salting and plowing. So this year we went out to bid. We got one bid for 8 pieces of equipment. We went out twice, and so we're going to accept this bid for 8 pieces for the $25,000.
This is just for emergency,
So
like
you-
the
like,
larger
In case we have
scale
a-
storms?
In case we have a blizzard or something like that, we normally just like to have extra equipment on board.
So this is extra one?
Extra,
extra.
Yeah,
Yeah, that-
we
that's
haven't
what I was
needed it
saying.
in 3 or 4 years,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I say $24,000, so city-wise?
And that's probably for one storm.
Is one storm,
If
right?
we use them in one storm. we
But
probably
this
do
is
that.
for extra, other than the...
Out of the ordinary.
In case of a serious blizzard, yeah.
Supplement our...
Okay, thank you very much. Supplementally,
Yeah.
okay, good, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for
Nope.
Jeff?
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Sonia?
The resolution you here for Sonia.
I'm here for Resolution 19-872, the rejection of the recycling bid.
It's 10.18, everyone. You want to say anything about that, or?
See, this one, I think we have several times already rejected. Was that-
This is the second time.
This is the second time, right? So any reason why the
The
price
reason
come up
is-
too high?
No, it's not that. It's before this bid, we were getting paid for the recyclables. We now have to pay for recycling, so working with the law department and purchasing, we have to change the revenue sharing language, which we now have, which we should go back out to bid within a week or two.
Why do we have to pay now?
Because the recycling market has tanked, and now it's no longer at this moment a commodity, so now we must pay to recycle paper and commingle.
It's only Jersey City or
No, that is
statewide?
worldwide,
Worldwide.
worldwide.
But we did get 2 bids, didn't we?
Yes, but the contract has a sharing revenue portion of language that states that they pay us instead of us paying them. That has to be changed, which the law department is now working on the language, which we should have ready to go back out to bid within 1 or 2 weeks.
If they bid with the idea that they would share revenue with us, then why are we?
Because the contract it's voided because we have to pay them. They're giving us a proposal of them receiving revenue and not us. So they're telling us that we have to pay them X amount instead of them paying us. Well, yeah.
We put it out to bid, but we rejected it once already. We put it out a second time, right?
We rejected it once, and this is the second time we must reject it, yes.
If we're paying for recycling, do we consider paying for plastics 3 through 7?
No, because it depends on whoever, let's say right now, for example, Sims bids on the market. Depends what market Sims has. Right now, Sims has a market that they recycle types 1, type 2, type 5. So once we do that, we can then push the education for type 1, type 2, types 5s. It depends on, every facility has a different market.
Okay.
Not all the facilities are the same.
Okay, so I guess in the build, we're gonna put this out again.
Yes.
Are we leaving it open?
Oh,
To
absolutely.
say to them, you tell us what
Yes.
plastics you recycle and what we would have to pay, I guess?
Absolutely.
For each one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, every market, every facility has a different market, and that's how we tailor our education moving forward.
Okay.
'Cause they have to be able to do something with the
I'd
goods.
like to know what the cost is, but if possible, we're paying a little bit, recycling is still a good thing for the environment.
Yeah.
And it's
It
state law.
reduces the waste that goes, like, even if we're paying for recycling, it still might be cheaper than putting it into the regular.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Regular waste is like 110
Yeah.
a ton, and this is 40
Between 103 and 110,
Yeah.
and recyclables can vary depending on how they bid.
So-
They propose it back to us.
So we're gonna go to the new RFP, right?
Yes, sir.
And so in the interim, our current contract is,
Right now, we have a temporary contract with council has passed, and it expires on December 31st.
council members, anything else? No. Hearing none? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Enjoy,
Douglas, happy
have fun.
birthday.
Yeah, tell Desiree I said hi.
I sure will. Thank you very much.
I want to wait till Mike comes back. I want to speak to the whole board and we'll all together.
Okay. Yeah.
No, we don't.
So council members, we have a guest here tonight, and nothing on the agenda. We have Miss Catrice Thomas, the executive director, the newly appointed executive director for Jersey City Employment and Training. She just wanted to introduce herself and say hi.
So, I think we were here several weeks ago, and explained to you our process.
Why don't you come on up?
Hiring Patrice and Matthew.
Can everyone introduce yourselves?
Because it'll be relevant in 2 weeks' time when we come back to you to note that we are rebuilding our team over at JSF, starting with Patrice. Matthew has been on board with us for about a month and a half. The CPA team there, working on the books, making sure that everything is in compliance with new state regulations. There's a lot of new state regulations. And Catrice hit the ground running on October 15th, and we couldn't coordinate that introduction, so we're doing it now. So she comes to us from Res Care. Give a little.
Sure. I come to you from Res Care. I have a fairly extensive workforce development. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather, but my background is workforce development, managing contracts and grants, both federal, city, and state. Very excited to bring what I know to Jersey City and be able to help the residents of Jersey City. I know that the population may seem a little bit different, but the challenges are the same as what I'm used to when I come from New York. I'm very excited to work with everyone, and thank you all for the welcomes that I've gotten so far.
Yeah, so in 2 weeks, we're going to bring to you the tri-party agreement with the county. I think all of you know that the city receives the grant funds from the state. Those funds were to be initiated July 1st. They were not. We have been working, Brian and I, Catrice, Matthew, a ton of the fiscal team, working with them to get the notice of award, and we are very close, but in order to get that, we need to have a tri-party agreement in place. And that's the three-way agreement between the county, who we partner with the Workforce Development Board. JSEP funds the Workforce Development Board. We're 1/3 of the funding source for that, and then the two other one-stops, career one-stops fund another portion of that. So the county takes on technically 66% of the total for the county, and JSEP takes on 33% of that funding. And we didn't want to jump in without introducing Catrice and bringing a tri-party agreement, but we are open to any more detailed conversation and follow-up that you may have in closed session at the next meeting.
Are we turning closed session on the calendar for the next caucus?
Is there a need for a closed session, or is this something that can be discussed in open session?
Well, I would say...
The tri-party agreement doesn't need a closed session.
Yeah, the
but-
tri-party agreement doesn't need a closed session, but if you have some questions that I can't possibly answer publicly, I'm going to need to...
Simply confidential memo.
So, I mean, I'll ask the questions, and council members, if it requires closed session, I just want someone to officially inform for the record that it requires to be for closed session. There's no harm in asking the question itself, right? So Catrice, first of all, welcome.
Okay, so
Yes.
before we go,
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
before we go, welcome to Jersey City.
yes.
Celebrate it,
So-
emotion about it. But I have some,
Good questions, so,
but I have some, questions. Maybe you can answer to us.
of course.
To us. So because not only myself, every member of the council people has the same concern about that the department you charge of agency of charge.
I'm sure.
Of that. So you took that place almost months now, 2 months, almost a month and a half.
October 15th.
It's less than a month.
Yeah, less than months. Okay. So would you tell us that what you find out, what was wrong actually our place, and what is your plan to correct our problem? I mean, this is not a joke, really.
No.
It's a serious issue to us, because every time we put in some there will come with a lot of scandals and rumors, and even people work there, morale is down because of that. Over the years, that all those crazy things going on. So now, your new leadership, I'm pretty
Yes.
sure when the hiring committee that select you as your charge of their problem, they have higher expectation about you, and the same things we are.
Yes.
So we don't want things repeat again what happened last. I'm not going to say too much, okay? So can you tell us that what was wrong? You believe that, and how we're going to correct the problem in the future to make your agents to moving forward. Can you explain to us anything? What you find? I know 1 month is not enough, but
Sure.
at least some give us comfort to us.
Okay, let's let her respond to your...
Okay?
So the first thing is that I came to Jersey City first to live. So I've lived here a couple years before I even knew what JSEP was. Part of the reason why I applied is because I, throughout my career, have wanted to give back to the communities that I am from. So it started in New York, and then it moved over to Jersey City. So that's sort of the reason why Jersey City is now special to me, and I take responsibility for it. What's wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong. What I know is that I come here to look forward. I know that there are some things that need to be changed, and all I can take accountability for is the future. I'm going to build a strong program that's fiscally sound. I'm going to hold staff and vendors accountable, and I'm going to stick to the metrics. Other than that, I don't know what went wrong. I don't know the people. I'm not sure.
So
And that's what Matthew and I
you're
So-
very...
like Patrice not to be embedded in what was
You
wrong.
sound like a politician. We don't want to talk about the past because I have to put it to somebody's name, fine. But at least you know, you didn't have to tell openly what was wrong. But at least we and you probably knows what was wrong. Please correct that problem in the future.
Well, Patrice,
Absolutely.
you can share with them, as you've been asked about some follow-up. We can say very clearly, prior to this year, the board had not approved the budget for several years, what has put them in a really sour situation with the state. And so Patrice is looking for back data, and there is no board-approved budget from 2014 2018, 2017. I joined the board in 2019, demanding to see things that were not shown to me.
Right.
And other things have changed since. We brought on a CPA team because we did a forensic audit that showed us that we needed to clean up some real concerns that the state had re-commingling, and that's a public document that you've seen.
We have not seen.
You didn't see the letter from the state? I thought they sent it.
I think they did.
They sent it to you all.
Who sent it to us?
The state sent it, and I know.
Sent it to
I'll
who?
forward it to you.
Forward
They
it
sent
again.
to you. Yeah. Did you? I saw your.
Did anyone else receive it?
No?
No?
So I'll forward it to you. It's a operable state like.
Yeah.
It's been
Yes.
requested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Information's been requested, just to be clear, and it has not been provided.
Well, actually,
So-
much information was requested. It was submitted to the state, and now the state is creating new requests that have never happened before to any organization. So we've submitted all of that, and we can submit it to you because we've been sending it to whoever has submitted over requests to us for that. What we did on the board is over the course of the last year, there was no dual signage on checks. So I co-sign every check that comes out of there, and the board approves all spending, similar to the way the council does. I was sort of surprised that wasn't occurring as a board member. We are continuing, we work very closely with the city on drawdowns and submitting all of our reimbursable paperwork, but we're kind of at the end of a long process of making sure that they see that everything that we've spent our money on is accurate. Those things that were not reimbursable from the state, the board is taking ownership to cover, because it's the onus of the board to be financially aware and fiduciarily responsible, and that's why several people left the board, because they didn't want that responsibility. Most of that happened prior to July 1st, so after January 9th, prior to July 1st, and we have made amends with the state on those issues.
So I'm going to say one thing. You know, your agency actually funding by part of money funding by City of Jersey City.
Yes.
So every time was funding come from the CD, whatever is there, we have to provide City Council. We're gonna ask the accountability.
Yes.
So every time we issue, this council, this body, prove that their budget for any funding for your organization, agency, then at the time, you or chairperson have to come to this council, explain that what they done and what they achieved. You know,
Okay.
I like to have some kind of report, not just to take money from the city. So there was some kind of report and achievement you have to be report to the city council, okay?
That's
So
reasonable.
just ready for that, okay?
Okay.
All right. Lots of luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
I have questions.
Thank you.
Yes. Catrice, welcome
Yes.
again. So
Thank you.
I understand you're just getting into the position, it's a month, and you're not responsible for the past, and you're responsible for the future. I understand that. But I will also just say that as you assume the leadership role there and the directorship, that you are responsible for whatever is, you now take ownership and responsibility for the past and whatever needs to be done to make sure that that's corrected and
Absolutely.
rectified in some way. And for my part, and I think the city council as well, as Councilman Yun has expressed, have been more than disappointed with your predecessor on this. I can say for myself on that, and that the accusations, and I'll be very blunt about it. I'm not going to dance around or beat around the bush. There were the stories about the former executive director, two former executive directors, and the audit report with Mr. McGreevy at the helm there, and that we've never received a copy of that audit report. I would like to see a copy of that audit report. That's been requested in the past as well. It suggested that had revelations about financial malfeasance and other things like that, and everyone in this council, when that information or suggestions were presented to us, suggested at the time that we were outraged by the idea and the notion of that, and that we should be able to get that sort of information, but none of that was provided. And so we expect and hope that that will be the case. I expect and hope that will be the case. I can only speak for myself. And from my part, in terms of seeing an agreement move forward, I would want to see accountability moving forward from the leadership. And again, I'm not holding you for responsible for those past actions. But for my part, and I hope you understand, is that I will not allow this to get brushed under the rug, any of this, right? So whether it's the auditing, whether it's the checks written out to cash, and the accusations about the whistleblower, I want a full reporting of all of those things and to understand exactly where that stands and what sort of process is going to continue to investigate these matters and to be able to get to the bottom of that so that the council can have assurances, so I can have assurances that if we're going to appropriate and have an agreement with JSEP to continue to allow those funds to be funneled through, that we have the highest assurances that we're aware of what the problems were and that people are being held accountable who are either not in the organization or may still be in the organization, continuing. So that being said, the other question I wanted to ask, and maybe it's a question more for Stacy or maybe you bring it back to your lawyers, but one of the things that Councilperson Waterman raised is the idea that representation on the board and having oversight from the City Council. We appropriate these monies and making sure that we have some sort of direct representation in some way, whether it be a member of the City Council itself or otherwise. How is the representation on the board determined?
I would share with you that prior to the McGreevy tenure, there was representation from the council on the board, but this board operates as a nonprofit that passes through funds. It's not an official authority like your planning board, like JCRA, and so we are hoping to clean up the bylaws because they're outdated and pretty irresponsible. And so we had to wait until we had a full board, and we waited until we had an executive director so that we can start a strategic planning process to have committees to redo the bylaws, because there was at some point a council member on the JSEP board. And if that's something that you would like, then that's something that obviously we would put into the bylaws.
I would like that, and as well as what I would also like to see is that all of the appointments, which have all been nominated and appointed by the mayor, that they be subject, as in almost every other commission or agency that's appointed by the mayor, it's subject to the advice and consent of the City Council. And if that's within the bylaws and within the agreement itself, I would like to see that represented within the documentation as well.
One of the key issues is the Workforce Development Board. They want you to be someone who is part of a hiring team. So we already don't match that. We don't have enough people that are employers. So like, I mean, I can technically, I'm an employer, but that's not what my day job is. Like, I, yes, employ people, but we wanted to get more employers so that they can be more aligned with what those issues are to ensure that people are being prepared. So we'll absolutely do that. I think Ben will come to the next meeting to talk about the tri-party agreement because it's really about the agreement and the relationship with the Workforce Development Board. But we are very open, right? So we're in full transparency. Like, this is a new time, a new era, a new belief system. We have a strong board. We went through a very long process to find an executive director. We, selected Catrice because she not only has the experience throughout the nonprofit sector, but that intersection of the government relationships with the nonprofits and the state and federal grants that are important to our work. So we're pretty much on the same team. I would say that our lawyer won't let us have a copy of the audit. The audit has been turned into the Attorney General's office. There are several investigations that are above and beyond us. I've worked with Peter on some of them. I've submitted everything from the bank to our police department. We have been very aligned with ensuring that everything that we can manage, we have, and years prior, some of the issues of closing out all the audits for the states was a concern of commingling of funds with NJRC and JSEP. And so that is what we are up against, waiting for a new letter of intent for a grant that started 5 months ago.
Well, if we can't get a copy of the audit, can we review
We can
it?
give you all of the stuff that you've been asked for.
Can we review it in
Can you come to
a
the
closed
office
office?
and review it?
Yes. And then,
You can make an
could we have a
appointment
closed
and-
session with the auditor to discuss those audit findings?
I
He's
am
not
not
an
the
auditor, he's an
auditor, I'm just,
accountant,
I'm
but yeah.
helping the books.
Yeah, I can bring the auditor in.
When you say auditor into city council?
To a closed session of the council?
Whatever you need me
I
to
think
do
that
to
it-
make sure you know that we are doing everything we can to turn the next page and help every city resident get better training, real employment that are career-based, and leading them into the next phase of their livelihood.
Wait, so then, Council President, maybe we can have like a closed session
Yes.
for the, invite the auditor?
Can we have a resolution for the next caucus, prior to next caucus? To the law department? As an add-on to this agenda?
Yeah, I mean, there would need to be a basis that would be allowable under the terms that define the closed session. Robert, maybe you have some guidance there. However, I don't know if you're talking about the function of the agency.
No, the audit,
You're talking about the audit, so
which is submitted to the FBI, we were told, right? So I would think that there's some investigative conditions there that warrant.
So the current time, there
Confidentiality.
was some, the documents under the,
yeah, we will look into it. If it's appropriate, we'll prepare the document.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
not, we'll explain.
Can I just ask then, how much are we talking about as funding going forward? How much will the state be releasing to?
Well,
To the county and to
there's
JSEP.
2 grants.
At this point, the budget's unknown. If you look at last year versus this year, it's a completely different program. I mean, when the NJRC broke off, it's night and day compared to what it is. And the state's been very unwilling to give us details on these.
Last year, I would say it was about $1.8 million. And there's 2 programs.
We were at 2.9, weren't we?
Well, there's 2 programs, so there's the One Stop Career Center that we manage, and then there's JSEP. And they're technically, JSEP runs the Career One Stop, but that one is one grant, and then to run JSEP is another grant. The one that we really want is our Career One Stop funding, and obviously, the city is one of a very few workforce development, or Workforce Investment Act cities, so it is our city's money. And the city can demand that money from the state. Where you put that money, right, is your decision, which is why we'd like you to continue to put it towards JSEP, because that's what a tri-party agreement is. We have the tools to do that, and we have the experience in place. And this was supposed to come to us in a letter in May that we would have presented to you. We had leadership at that time that was not very communicative. I think I came to some council meetings to express that concern, and where we are now is waiting for, what else do we need to do then?
At this point, we've given them everything. As of last week, they were on vacation, so they were unable to get back to us. So we need to.
I think they're just waiting for their tri-party agreement.
You submitted to everyone in the council, something?
Submitted to the state.
Oh, the state.
Yeah, they gave us a list of things that they needed to.
But we can share everything they've submitted.
Sure, that'd be great. You could share with Marlene. And
It's
Marlene,
like about 900 pages, so.
electronic version.
Yeah. Dropbox that.
no, don't send to 900 pages, it's punishing us.
Yeah.
We did anything wrong.
I'm not sending you any
thank
Just,
you.
just
Google-
give something.
It'll be a Dropbox.
Just paper-free.
Yeah.
It'll be a Dropbox.
Just give us some.
Yeah, just give me somebody, that's what we needed.
Because, you know.
Don't
90
just
pages.
900 pages.
No, we want to share with you that, like, we've been asked for more things than your average person that has been a grantee because of the former directors and their cavalier ways of doing business. So there's not a lot of things in place. And so that's the first thing. I mean, I'm not going to speak for Patrice on that, but Patrice is calling me saying, do you know where I can find this? I'm like, it should be in one of the files. But it's not.
All right, it's just, okay, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Councilman Bojano.
Yeah, I want to say something, I want to get something off my mind, all right?
Wait, is this about this?
Oh, no.
Okay, let's finish this. Let's finish
I
this.
thought you said you were finished. I thought you said.
No. Okay, anyone else have questions for Catrice?
No, just a lot to below.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Thomas.
all.
Good job.
See you next meeting.
Thank you.
And Catrice, you forgot to say we're from Monday.
That's a good thing.
Okay, we're going to bring up our CFO, Lubna Munir. She is, come on up and then just be patient, give us 1 second. Councilman Bojano, you wanted to
Yeah, I
speak?
want to bring up something to this whole board. 2 weeks ago, we came down here to a planning board meeting of a building that has 14 variances. A whole panel on that board, not one person asked a question about these variances except for one person.
That's not true, Rich.
No, I was there.
I was there.
We
I'm not gonna
presented
let you say that.
237 signatures on this building here about a dangerous chemical that may be being used, which is a fire hazard banned in some states. And everybody on the council just yes.
The planning
Except for
board.
John
No,
Sobrowski.
they didn't.
We had a meeting the other night with about 150 people from the Hilltop and Journal Square Association. We're tired of this planning board. There's got to be people on that planning board that are from the city. We want more representation from Ward C because of what's going on with all the construction. And I'm telling you right now,
You have
the
3
200,
on
they refused to accept the 237 signatures, residents of the area, which was gotten in a couple of hours by 3 or 4 people. They could have handed in 500. They refused to accept it. And yet I know a year ago, a little bit more, a developer came in with signatures and they accepted it. And, you know, I've had it with this planning board. They don't know what they're doing and that something's got to change. And some of them have to be replaced. And I'm going, if I have to, I'm going outside the city with this. And I'm telling the law department, I want to speak to you, all of you, and I want something done. Because they do not represent the people of Jersey City. All they represent is the developers. And, you know, they come in here, the big developers, they get what the heck they want. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing what's going on up in Journal Square. I'm tired of what they did to the Greek church or what they're doing to the Greek church. And I was called by an architect who wants to remain anonymous, that they start drilling down 20 feet, that church is going to collapse. So nobody on that planning board brought up any questions. Nobody asked anything.
Okay. Did you want to say anything,
Yeah,
Councilman?
I disagree.
Okay.
I was there. The planning board do not take signatures without finding out is that correct signatures. They have to do an investigation, make sure these people are the right people. They just don't accept signatures like we do. They always have to investigate. So that's why they couldn't accept the signatures, first of all. And second of all, for him to say there's nobody from Ward C up there, that's not true.
We have somebody up there just.
Hold on, let Councilwoman finish,
They
Rich.
just say yes.
Let the
Well, you said
Councilwoman
there was
finish.
nobody on there, but there was, Rich. There
Councilperson
are-
Waterman.
I know who she-
Rich, let's let Councilperson Waterman finish,
Okay,
please.
you do have representation up there on the planning board.
There's one person, all she does is say yes. That's it.
Okay. Councilperson Waterman.
So there is representation that is on that board there. So I mean, sometimes the decision the planning board makes, everybody's not happy, but they do follow the land law. Now, when they talked about these variances, based on the law, you can have as many as variance that is necessary because depending on the shape of the building, that will determine those variants too. So when he says that, you know, I take offense to it because I am sitting on that planning board.
Yeah, I know you're
And
sitting
so,
on it,
but-
Joyce,
and you
we
say
were very
that-
shocked that you
no.
voted yes.
Right,
Joyce.
and you
Shocked.
could be shocked, whatever, Rick. That's
Yeah.
your
Well, I wasn't
right.
shocked.
You know, that's your right. But I'm not gonna let you sit here and try to
Joyce.
just discredit me because you didn't like the decision
Joyce,
that was made.
the way that
Yeah.
people were treated,
You
we
know.
only came down with a couple of people came down because they had the signatures.
Okay.
And I told you, the developer handed in signatures
Okay.
last
Okay, everyone said their piece.
Let me ask
Everyone
you
said their piece of this.
Yes, we just wanted the one issue.
Let's let it go, let's,
No, but this is a city council
This is-
meeting.
Yeah,
That's
Right,
right.
thank you.
No, this is a caucus meeting where you
Because he
present
gets to
problems.
say whatever he wants to
Yeah.
say here. You just
Let's
can't
move on.
just-
Councilman, I can meet with you later this week regarding this.
Yeah, I want to, because I'm tired of it, so is a lot of people. And when you have
Understood.
150
I'll make an
people show up at a
appointment.
meeting,
It's
ticked off about what's going on in the city.
It was
Understood,
eight
Rich.
people.
Yeah, because we were told
Okay,
they would take the
everybody.
We have
petitions.
Lubna
So,
here, present here, to speak about a very important document.
What is it?
10.2, the best practices inventory questionnaire that was sent down to the state by deadline on October 30th. And Lubna?
Right. It's already been submitted to the state on October 31st, 2019. And we were supposed to receive 30 scores, and instead of 30 scores, we got 39 in order to receive the full grant from the state. And there are 84 questions, and it's from the different departments. And since you already know I'm the new CFO here, so I got information from all different departments. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I can let you
So
know.
we got 39 points, so state is not gonna hold any grant.
Right. Whatever we're supposed to receive it, we got more than that.
Okay, good news, thank you.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time loading up the document.
me too. I'm having a hard time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my fault.
What can we do here? 'Cause,
I did it.
So I don't have the document in front of me, but,
I have the hard copy. I have
Yeah.
one hard copy if you guys.
so I don't have the document in front of me, so I couldn't, I'll just say I have a series of questions, quite a few.
Yeah.
I'm going to email them to you, but let me just ask you, there's a number of things saying that we're in compliance and suggesting that we are, just, the answer is yes, that we are in compliance.
Right.
Can you please provide us, provide me, I should say, with any sort of report or evaluation
Sure.
of compliance or the policy itself?
No problem.
in
I
each
can do that.
instance? Yeah, there's a lot there. It's,
Right. I already created these 84 questions, a summary of each question, but I can do it for you. I will send it over to you.
Anyone
Some
else?
of them were sample questions, not all of them are graded. The state threw in a number of questions just to
Unscored,
to
right.
take a pulse of the communities in New Jersey.
Can I just ask on the more specific stuff, like one of the things had to do with the vehicle use policy? Just want to get a copy of that,
Sure.
the vehicle use policy.
It should be on your desktop, but we'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just, this is more for my own edification. It talks about employees in question 6, and again, I don't have it in front of me because I can't load up the
Right.
page. It talks about exempt employees. Can you just somewhat explain that to me? What is an exempt employee and the distinction between an exempt employee versus non-exempt or?
Management employees are exempt employees like administrators, CFOs, municipal clerk. They are not supposed to receive overtime.
Okay, so exempt employees don't
Right.
receive overtime. Yes, it was an overtime question, that was right. Again, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't remember, but I jotted down some notes. So could I get a list of all of the exempt employees?
Sure. I will send it over to you.
Okay, anyone else have questions? I'm just going to email you everything else I've got here.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you, Lubna.
You're welcome.
thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, with the challenges of technology.
All right. Next guest, Council
I'm looking into it.
President.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Next is Paul Bellenboyer,
And he's here about
10.14.
10.14.
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening. This is a contract with the National Council for Behavioral Health. They train instructors to deliver our mental health first aid training under our mental health awareness training grant. We've been approved for the second year of this 3-year grant. So far, the training is going very well. Did a great one at City Line Church this Saturday. We have trainings at least one a week. The great news is that they're successful in that the people we train are actually using the training to help people get connected to mental health services. Last month, for instance, 229 connections were made, whether that's the call to 911 or the mobile crisis team or a community clinic or a referral to school-based services. So far it's going great. This will allow us to train more instructors and ramp up the number of classes that we do in the coming year.
So far, how many people actually joined the class?
I believe that in year 1 we trained 363, and again we're doing 15 to 20 every single week going forward. In year 2 we plan to train over 1,000, and by the time the grant period is up we're looking to finish up with about 3,000.
Training program held by just in one area or to go to citywide?
So most trainings are open to the public. Some are with specific organizations. We focus citywide, although our most frequent training location is the Bethune Center. They're not restricted to Jersey City as well. And we, in the coming year, in fact, we may partner with agencies outside the city to train other folks within Hudson County or nearby, but always the focus is on the benefit to Jersey City.
So do they have any plan to have us hold at the session to in Heights area?
We would love to. The key thing that we need is a location and work with community partners to make sure that the training is well subscribed so that we train, we're looking for about 20 people in each training.
Okay.
So I can think of several churches, for instance, that are partners. We're doing a lot more. Our initial plan was to focus on agencies and do 9 to 5 workday trainings, but we've got a lot of community demand for the Saturday trainings.
So can you come up with some plan for the, in the Heights area with the way you described it? Connect with churches, so and so.
Certainly.
I'd like to go to some in the Heights area.
I have 2 in mind right now, and I'll be happy to reach out to you about some other suggestions from you, or for that matter, any other council person.
Right, could you give me a call? Because I know
Ken?
a group was telling me they was trying to get in touch and they didn't get no answer. Okay.
Yeah, we will certainly reach out to you and individually for your suggestions.
Okay.
We would happily like to train you or your council aides.
Okay.
Because they're dealing with
Yes,
people all
sure.
the time, and for them to better understand how to.
You say right, yeah.
Sure.
By the end of this year, Health and Human Services will be 100% trained, and we hope to do similar work in other city departments, especially those that face the public.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Council President.
Director Gandula, you're up. Carmen has 10.7.
Yes.
Which is the awarding of
The summer grant resolution. So,
This is CSBG or CDBG?
CDBG for April 1, 2018 to March 31, 2019.
Yep, so it's the CDBG, so we set monies aside every year in the grant budget to allocate funds for the summer program. And so the resolution that we have here before you is we received 25 applications for the summer youth program. The request is about $500,000 in grant request. We set aside $140,000 from fiscal 18's budget. We made the recommendation to fund 13 programs, and in the memo that was attached in the resolution highlighted the proposals. We had 2 grant recipients that were new. We refunded the remaining 11 and denied about 12 of the other applicants. And so the proposal that's in front of you today is for fulfilling those obligations for that request.
Can I ask you some very basic question? When
Sure.
we distributed all those dollars, 10,000, 12,000, 13,000, based on participation in the, program, how they distribute it in amount? Because I'm not gonna say any organization, certain organization, I know that so many people join that they compare with other organizations, but
Sure.
dollar amount wise, not much different, So how you decide based on their request or based on how many kids join the program? How they do that?
So,
Because try to do the sharing dollar based on their work, you know what I'm saying? If they have only 20 kids, 20 people joining certain summer program, but still get $10,000. But I know some program, they have like almost 100 kids join it.
Sure.
But dollar, the district wise almost the same, you know what I'm saying? So how do you decide it?
So-
Based on their request or based on their participation?
so the RFP is written very general. When we issue the summer program, it is for like either summer youth development or academic enrichment. And so because the RFP is written very generally, we're requesting proposals from the nonprofits to provide their best fitted program forward. And so we evaluate the proposals based on the variances of different nonprofit organizations. So you're right, there are different organizations that serve, and every budget is different. And so we do have threshold criteria that we review. We don't write a very prescriptive RFP. We could, in design, but ultimately because of the design of all of our nonprofits here in Jersey City and having different strengths, then you exclude some that are out. So you will see in the memo, like Client Serve, one organization asking for $10,000 and another organization asking for $15,000. It is a really small budget when you're trying to set aside $100,000, but we did feel as though that was a need because we did get more activities in the summertime for youth as it related to why we needed to set aside $100,000 or $150,000 out of the general public service budget.
Okay, but still, you know what I'm saying? Okay.
So, Director, the memo says ECD anticipates submitting a resolution to council for approval at the September 11th, 2019 meeting.
Yep.
In compliance with HUD regulations, all summer funds must be expended by October 31st,
Yep.
2019, and obviously we're in November.
Yep.
Can you help us understand?
So when we submitted the resolution, we submitted this back in August. It did not meet the approvals. We actually were waiting for the nonprofits to submit their EEO forms.
Okay.
And 4 of the nonprofits on this list did not have their EEO forms. And so if we didn't clear it for this meeting, we actually would have had to split up these recommendations because that was kind of sort of the holdup as to why when we actually drafted this.
So you couldn't submit it to council until nonprofits got you the document? But
Yeah.
if the summer funds have to be expended by October 31st, like, are we just expending them after October 31st and hoping that HUD doesn't care?
So not that HUD doesn't care. So understand that the public service budget, my overall budget, when I meet with you guys, we set monies aside for that particular fiscal year.
Okay.
So these nonprofits already did these activities. They're waiting to already invoice me and have a check. Like I have all the paperwork ready. I just couldn't do this piece because they needed to update their documents and then getting those documents to me issued the delays.
First, you approved these a while ago.
Yep.
And now to pay them, you need to approve them, and we have to go through a process with EEO, and it's like pulling teeth with our nonprofit community to get these documents because they're confused and they don't know why every year, every single meeting. So everyone that gives her a document, I have to get the same documents from the same nonprofits, which is why my stuff isn't on this meeting agenda.
But ultimately, we review like budgets, everything, and anticipating like it's a recommendation to award, we have everything up front. So this, I couldn't anticipate them not having this information. It was just stale by the time it came through.
Okay. I guess I get that they're not submitting it. I guess what I'm having trouble understanding
Is the expenditure of the funds?
Well, what the deadline means by saying all summer funds must be expended.
It's been expended, you just haven't paid it.
Yep.
Of the 12 who were not awarded, were any of those 12 prior year awardees?
As I'm looking at them, Not specific, I would say Nimbus was a prior awardee, but this wasn't specific to their, and then I would say Recreation. Everyone, Academic Excellence, Oracle. Haven was given funding, but in a different program, not specifically for the summer. The Hudson County Latino Foundation was new. Metrospec did not do the program. Special Dragons, nonprofit, did not have their SAMS requirement, and Vision to Learn was new. So of that list, Rec and Nimbus would have been repeat applicants who were not specifically funded in the summer.
I thought I saw, I don't have the documents in front of me, but I thought I saw Nimbus on there anyway.
Would you say?
I thought I saw Nimbus on the list for maybe they have two applications.
Flying blind.
Yeah, it's in Nimbus.
Thumbs up the internet, we're working on it.
Okay,
Like Nimbus's other program was awarded,
they did, okay.
but their a specific program that they wrote in did not, so it's two distinct programs.
I see. Anyone else have questions? You just send me the list of the denied applicants?
Yep.
And like what they, just how much they applied for and...
Denied and okay.
Anyone else? No? Thank you, Carmen. Marty? Marty has two items, 10.17 and 10.19. You're gonna have to tell us what they are, Martin, or Robert will.
Yeah. Kate can come.
10.17.
There's a resolution awarding the contract to National Auto Fleet for the purchase of two 15-passenger vans for the Division of Neighborhood Improvement. Their vans they currently have are 2009s. They are used daily by their division to transport the employees that street the streets and shovel the curb lines and crosswalks and everything during the winter. So they've been running into some significant issues due to the age of being 10 years old. So we feel that they had the money in their capital account, so we were replacing them.
You have questions about 10.17?
So we're gonna spend almost $80,000 to buy two 15-passenger vans, correct?
That's correct.
And they spend like $18,000 configuration. What kind of configuration do you talk about?
I'm sorry?
They have a configuration, so, they charge like almost $20,000.
Well, first of all, Councilman, what I failed to
You make
mention,
like
I
a bill of
apologize,
shares,
is these vans are 2020s, and they are the first, Ford is the first company to come out with a full-size passenger all-wheel drive. So that's why the price is a little higher than they would normally be. So in past years with the senior shovels and things like that, obviously rear-wheel drive, everybody knows that doesn't really work too well in the snow. So picture a van which really has no weight in the rear, how it was sliding. So once we found out that, Ford came out with the all-wheel drive, that was the, part of the reason why we went with it. And that's why the cost is a little bit more than what the average van would be.
So the $18,000, almost $19,000 that to upgrade, simply.
Well, no, there's no, the upgrade price is, isn't just $18,000 just for that. the price of vehicles as a whole have gone up tremendously. Unfortunately, today, you're not buying anything under $25,000, for a basic vehicle.
Okay.
Marty, what do we do with the old vans?
Well, depending on how bad they are, and these things are relatively bad, they're rotting out and things like that, more than likely they're going to be taken out of service.
But when you take them out of service, what do you do with them? Like, we donate them, we auction them?
We could donate if the council has a place where we'd want to donate, but typically a lot of these are like not in great condition and they would cost like a nonprofit a lot of money to fix up anyway, so that's the issue we have with donating.
They don't want it, right?
What's that?
Places to take them now.
Yeah.
I know there's an organization that gives
Yeah,
children
yeah,
that will
we can do
take them
that.
because they have a mechanic.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We've been looking around, and, we have the same issue with furniture too, where we have all this old furniture and it's like in such terrible condition sometimes and no one wants it, even if we're gonna donate it, so. But if anyone has any ideas for groups that would want vehicles, any type of vehicle, just let us know.
Yeah, because I give away all my cars.
Cars for kids?
Organization. Cars for kids, right. They have
Okay.
cars like that. I couldn't think of the name, but they take them because they have.
I'm sorry, I might have
mechanics
missed this,
that
Marty. Are
volunteer.
these electric vehicles?
These are not, no.
That's right. That's where I get my cars to, cars for kids, yeah.
Which year's capital budget are these accounts?
This is from, these are from 2018's capital budget.
And when we put the 18 one together, did we call for were these vans in there?
Yes, they were.
Can we get a list of what was budgeted for in that 18 capital allocation? I remember there was like a long list,
Yeah, we
right?
split it up,
Yeah.
which we haven't typically done in the past, but we did. Yeah, we can do that.
It's from the bond, right?
Yeah.
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 It's not from our budget. It's capital from
No.
the separate.
Okay, your next item?
Is 10.19, which is a resolution awarding a final year of the transmission repair contract to 4 Jersey City vendors. Again, this is our final year for the renewal. We've had 4 vendors. This year, we've actually gone down a little bit with the repairs on the transes. And I'm hoping next year is actually even less with the incoming of quite a number of new police cars, which we should be receiving within the next month or so. So that'll take a lot of the old things off the road and save us on the repairs.
Mark, could you get a breakdown of the numbers? I know we have 4 vendors, the bottom was higher than all of the rest, and I know at the end of the ordinance, we had a breakdown of the years, but we don't have a breakdown of which vendor was,
Okay.
okay, because it's just one.
Basically, you're looking for just what we've spent from each vendor last year?
Yeah, because I just want to see how it is, because I know that our preferred vendor is less money, and then it goes up.
Right, so basically what we try to do with the vendors, especially with the amount of work that we were getting with a lot of the older cars, we put it out. But I mean, in some instances, we have some vendors that, even though they won the bid, their return time has been very lax. We're sending cars out for a trans, which is really a swap in, swap out type scenario, and then taking 2-3 weeks for the cars. So, we'll basically, won't send them one, we'll send it to one of the other vendors, who will get us back, economy of the essence. Next year's bid, that'll actually be put in as part of the requirement that there will be a certain amount of time frame in which they will have to return the car back to us, repaired, as opposed to them basically, throwing it on a, back burner and paying customers first, as opposed to, us waiting for 30 days to pay them.
All right, just a breakdown of which vendors we spent the money on.
Sure, absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Marty.
While Marty's here, can we talk about 10.20, the electric garbage trucks, and Kate is here too?
Yeah.
Sure.
Electric? Interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
How big are the garbage trucks?
They're gonna vary. There's 2 sizes. One is a 10.5 yarder, and the other one is a 25 yarder. The 10.5 yarders are perfect size to work for using in like the parks, the litter baskets and things of that nature. They're small, they could get, when they pull over, they're not taking up as much space as, the bigger garbage trucks. Then obviously the two bigger ones will be used for, more pressing, where a large amount of garbage will be required to be used.
So the 25 is like the old ones, and the 10s are like the vacuums, the new vacuums?
A 10 yard, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the one that Parks and Forestry uses, the green one. That's in around around, I think that's like a 12-yard body.
How many garbage trucks do we have and like how old?
Currently, we have 8 of them. Of the 8, we have 2 new ones, which we just recently bought for the, to pick up the schools. We have, one is strictly for recycling. It's actually a split body. So one side of the truck you could put commingled in. The other side of the truck you could put cardboard and newspaper in. That we purchased off a recycling grant a number of years ago. Then we have 1, 2, 3 of them are 2004s. And then the other 2 are 2000, I believe, 13s.
Any questions, anyone?
We're gonna buy 5 electric garbage trucks, right?
This actually is just approving the grant dollars to pay for them. We're gonna do we have to do a separate resolution approving that purchase. But yeah, that's the intention, that and the grant requires us to have a quote in order to get approval for this. But things may change, a few dollars here and there when we actually finalize that process, which we have to come back to council for.
But really, they're strong enough that the electric power.
Oh, yeah. So this go ahead.
Honestly, Councilman, I was pretty much, you could ask Brian, I was apprehensive myself when Brian first brought it up to me. I'm like, wait a minute. Electric cars I could go along with, but trucks,
Yeah.
But the more research, believe it or not, that I've looked into and spoken to various vendors, that it's the wave of the future. New York City currently has, I believe, 4 of them that they are currently using as on a trial basis. There's a lot of states and municipalities out on the West Coast have been using them for quite a while. And, you know, they're motors, so electric motors are used on everything. The real big thing is the battery power. And the more this process moves along, the better the batteries are getting. I mean, electric garbage trucks, I would say, around maybe about 7, 8 years, or electric trucks. From, you know, point A to where we are now, the battery power has changed dramatically. And they're already talking about it.
Our concern is that they use the same electric charging station, or we have to be separate?
Yeah, so we're in the process of installing electric charging stations at Public Works. They're gonna be level 2 stations. There might be some
Well,
DC
they
fast
could they
charging.
actually come with the garbage trucks?
Yeah,
When they say the
come with
truck,
it.
they give you them.
We're
So in
gonna
other words, then I use it, what we installed?
Yes, yes,
So
it's gonna be fine. And also, those chargers are gonna be connected to the solar panels that are going up at Public Works, so it's gonna be, as the energy supply is as green as it gets. But we did test drive a couple of, one option of garbage truck, and they are very, very quiet, which is very important to residents who are always complaining about the noise. But the other thing is, with garbage trucks, they do a lot of idling when they're throwing the garbage in. And when electric garbage trucks idle, they're quiet and there's no emissions. So it's a big improvement to the air quality across the city and the noise as well.
So what we want to know that we're going to spend almost $2 million to purchase 5 electric garbage truck. But my concern is that the operation time, a diesel, as long as we fill the tank, it's working. But electric one a little different. You know what I'm saying? Because now I want to ask you, if we each electric truck so fully charge them, how many hours they're able to fully operate, and how many hours it take them to recharge them?
I can send you all this, the entire spec.
I take your word.
Depending on if it's a fast charge, it's a 4-hour charge, and they can run upwards. They do it by mileage. They don't go by hours. They do it on how far they can travel. I don't want to give you misinformation, give you the wrong. It's pretty good. And again, I mean, I was apprehensive myself about
So this is what is the difference. When you use a mileage, when you just trucks run, operating, just move to A to B, you can go like 200 miles or 300 miles for fully one charge. But if you collect the garbage, every 5 minutes, you have to be
running the blade.
So it can be big differences. So now, when you say that the electric truck based on mileage, then I start scratching my hairs. You know what I'm saying? So you tell me, if we fully operating as a collected garbage at normal base, you know, how many hours they work. I don't want the trucks to spend $2 million in the street, and the 2 hours later, we have to go back.
I don't want to give you the wrong information, Councilman. Again, let me go back, I could look at all the information I have in the office. I can email you all the exact information, so there is no...
Not only that, the battery guaranteed.
5 years.
5 years that we don't have any cost for that, and they're automatically 5 years replaced.
Batteries are 5 years replaced if anything goes wrong.
Okay, and 5 years later, when we purchase battery, what is the cost of that?
Right now, they cannot give us a cost, obviously, 5 years from now, because also the technology in 5 years could be light years away from where we are now.
Yeah.
You know, that was the same question Joe asked, Kate and Brian can tell you, I asked the same questions. You pull up, you're packing constantly.
Right.
Yes, it's different.
Stop and go, city traffic,
Yeah.
you know, the battery. I asked all these questions and I was
Yeah,
surprised.
we've been doing research on this for months.
Yes, please,
now.
so before you purchase that,
Right.
Yeah.
please do me a favor.
Absolutely.
Before you purchase that, you fully explain to this body, so we knows that what we're gonna get it.
I can do one better. Once we get everything settled out, before we do anything, we'll bring the vendor in and do a demo
Yeah.
of the equipment.
Actually, yeah.
Beautiful. It's better. Yeah.
They've told us that the range is like 120 miles, but obviously that's driving just straight. So,
Right.
but our routes, I think you were saying, is like 18 or 20 miles a day. So we're gonna get a full week out of a charge. Probably,
Yes, please, okay? Yeah.
Which is and it charges overnight, so it's gonna be easy. Yes,
Okay.
You should.
Yes.
You should.
All right,
Councilman, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, Paul?
Paul is gone. So, we had a request to withdraw these from the agenda by Councilman Rivera, so we're gonna hold off on 3.2 and 3.3.
What is it?
3.2 and 3.3.
3 point,
These two ordinances, we're gonna hold off for now.
okay, 3.2, 3.3 is a withdrawal, right?
Yeah, both 3.2 and 3.3.
Yes, but do me a favor, when I read the 3.2, 3.3, they have so many information missing.
Yeah, I talked to Dave Diaz about it just now, and so we're gonna rectify
Okay,
it.
please.
Yeah.
What's up?
Let's take off 3.12.
I don't even know what it is, so. I can tell you.
We have 3.4. We have 4 on it.
1025.
4's on there.
Hold on. We got Kate here, and then we've got Mr. Bauman as well. Kate? Kate has 3 resolutions, everyone. 10.11, 10.15, 10.16.
I'm at 10 point,
If you can see it, go ahead.
can't you read it one more time?
Hello. Yes, 10.11, which is regarding a contract for forestry, for tree planting.
Oh, hey,
10.15 and 10.16.
Which one are we doing now?
We're doing 10.11. I also have with me Ed O'Malley, our forester.
Hello.
The Office of Sustainability worked with Ed on this contract. So this is for $25,000 to MJ Hogue to plant trees this fall.
Okay, questions for Ed and Kate?
I apologize for my lack of clarity here, but like the last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we had a different contract, and Sandy was here. Could you just explain to me the difference between that contract and this contract?
Yeah, that contract was for the supply and delivery of trees, the actual purchasing of the trees from a nursery. This is for paying the contractor for the labor to plant.
So that first contract we purchased, but they're also responsible for the maintenance, right? Because aren't they supposed to water them?
No, there's 2 separate contracts. There's a citywide tree planting contract, and then there's the supply and delivery. It's 2 different separate vendors, separate contracts. So MJ Hogue has been the contractor the city's used for at least the last 2 years that I know of to actually provide the labor, plant the trees, and they're the ones responsible for the warranty on the trees.
Okay, so the first contract was simply about the purchase of the trees.
Right.
And then these guys are responsible for the planting and the 2-year warranty.
Correct.
And then so they're also the ones who are supposed to water the trees over those 2 years.
Correct.
Got it.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying.
So purchasing, this is a planting, but you come with a warranty too, right?
Sorry, can you say that again?
The planting, they also come with a warranty.
warranty.
Yeah, the planting, the labor, yeah, comes with the warranty. This, as far as the purchasing one, there's no warranty. Once we accept the trees, they're ours.
There's yours, but let me ask this one. When you, that's why we have a problem, because we plant a lot of trees in Jersey City, but we find out the trees are dead. So then, you know, I don't know how many trees actually they replace, you know, by warranty, I don't know, because the DPW never actually put to us. So now, how many, you do that last year too, right? So how many planted tree you replaced because of that tree?
Well, actually, I just started this summer, so under the forestry program with me, and no planting has occurred since I've started here. We've done inspections of the citywide planting from the spring, and we've generated a list of trees that have died. And as far as Ezra, the other foresters, started an inspection of the CSIP trees planted out of that, also in the spring. None have been replaced so far. It's something I brought up to the contractor, and basically his thing is due to a lack of documentation. He's trying to claim he's not liable for the replacement of those trees. Basically, at this point, I've collected the information, and then brought it up. So it's something that's kind of an ongoing thing that, as far as the past practices go, I only have a limited amount of control of that. But moving forward now, we have full contract supervision. We're providing daily reports. Every day, everything that happens, Ezra is writing, or if it was me, we're conducting these daily reports. So we're providing the documentation every day so that in the future he could never come back, or any contractor for that matter, can never claim they're not liable for something. Because without having proper documentation, there's no way to prove one way or the other what happened. And that's.
And to that point, for transparency's sake, I also noticed that there was one missing page in that contract, so I brought it with me. It's the line items for every single item that has been signed on the back by MJ Hope. And we wanted to make sure that we got that so that going forward, we won't have any of the issues that we have seen in the past.
So now, can I ask you, it's a very simple question, because we're gonna pay $25,000, we only planted 62 trees, approximately 62 trees in the citywide. Yes? Yes.
Probably less than that.
Probably less, just because each line item's payable. Most of the city tree pits are actually smaller than the forestry standards mandate, so a lot of them have to be expanded, the square footage of them. So then there's the cost per square foot.
See, that's what I want to know. Why the tree pit is smaller than what its industrial standard? Why, Jersey City?
Oh, sorry, going forward, they will not be smaller. When we are planting a tree in an existing tree pit, we're gonna be expanding the tree pit so that it meets our standards and the forestry standards. The fact that there were tree pits that were undersized was just because we didn't have forestry standards back then. We had a different standard, which was smaller, and there wasn't a forester that was making sure that we were having pits that were big enough. But going forward, ever since the forestry standards went into place, we now have protocol and we have standards which they have to follow.
So planning department the size of the tree pit, right?
Yes, there'll be the minimum size of the tree pit will be the minimum size within the forestry standards, which means that almost all tree pits within the city, if we're filling in empty tree pits, will have to be expanded, which is why we won't be able to plant as many trees, but the trees that are planted will be planted correctly and in pits that are the correct size.
All right.
I just have just for my own clarification to make sure that I'm understanding. So for this is the planting also for residents who did the adopted tree program this year?
Yes.
For this, okay. And then with the issues you had with regard to warranty for trees that were planted last spring, can residents expect those trees to be replaced in the fall? Is the window passed for that?
For trees that were planted last year, you're saying?
For trees that were planted and that didn't make it when they were planted in the spring?
That's something that's still ongoing discussions in the division of how to proceed with that. And ideally the contract, yes, they should be replaced. It's just the contractor is just claiming that the trees were damaged when they were delivered, and he's basically saying that is a reason why he's not liable. and there's no documentation one way or the other to disprove it, so it's an ongoing thing right now that I'm trying to work through.
And then, so for residents who have a dead tree in front of their house, what's the process or protocol? Do they just call Parks and Forestry and you guys will come remove it? Are you waiting for the contractor to come do it, or?
No, if there's a dead tree in front of your address, you can definitely call Parks and Forestry to remove it. Per the contract, it should be the contractor removing it and replacing it within 21 days of the next planting cycle. That's the issue.
But the contractor, we talked about you. You're the one who replaced the tree there. Then who is the one?
The contractor.
Who is the contractor?
MJ.
You keep saying the contractor. Who is the contractor?
We're talking about an old
So now,
contract.
we're talking about, okay.
Not this contract.
Okay, so now, it is, you just say the ongoing issue. When he admitted it's an ongoing issue, then we want to know, it happened 2018, he said 2019. I mean, ongoing issue. The ongoing issue under your term, your contract period, or ongoing issue was a last contractor, what was it? Who was the responsible?
It's the current contract that's open, before, you know.
We not ask you responsibility about
yeah, no, it's the current
you're not
contract that's
planting.
open.
But we ask you, your side, 2018, 2016, 17, since 2013, when we plant a tree, when we purchase a tree, when you plant a tree, I ask the same questions the way I ask it today. Because tree, based on our experience really, plant and even Central Avenue replacement tree is dead. Because somehow they pick up the wrong months, somehow they plant the dead trees, or somehow they plant the trees wrong. So now, we want to know, there was then, this is now. So we don't want to same mistake, and we don't want to hear the ongoing problem, now 1920. So we got to make sure they clear part of that, okay?
Yeah, that's why we're so happy to have Ed and the other forester on board, so that they can make sure to oversee the process to ensure that the contractor is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
So we got to make it clear that tonight. Okay, now, when you pick up the tree from the DPW nursery, then trees are under you're responsible, right? So when you plant a tree, doesn't matter or not, if we treat that, you replace a tree. In other words, you bring up your tree and you planting. Is that right?
No, it's the contractor who does that.
Right. Who is the contractor?
MJ Hogue. For the old contract, MJ Hogue is the contractor. There's a contract for purchasing the trees from a nursery, and then there's a contract for planting of the trees through a company.
That's what we want.
That's what we.
The company is.
MJ Hogue.
Contractor.
Okay, so if it's a tree, they have planted a tree. If we treat that, they are the one. In other words, tree supplier is the responsible.
The tree planter.
The tree planter is responsible.
Right. The supplier is something
That's
different.
MJ.
Oh.
So the issue in the past was that we didn't have anybody there documenting everything. So now we do, and now we can make sure that they are following what they're supposed to be doing, and the documentation will be there so we can hold them accountable for if anything is planted incorrectly.
Accountable that they're going to be provide to replace a tree and the planting. It's a planting cost almost.
They're not actually, the way the contract's written, they're not responsible for the cost of the tree, they're responsible for the labor. So even if the tree were to die, as the contract is written, the city would still have to provide them a replacement tree. But the cost of planting and the warranty would be at no cost to the city. It's kind of two contracts working
Maybe I'm
together
dumb.
with each other.
Maybe. I keep confused. I'm the only one?
No.
You too. You confused too.
Okay, so I will admit I've been tied up with my PC here, so I'm not really aware of are we unresolved here? Is that?
There were two plant a tree, Jersey City. Let's do it this way, because this is ongoing waste of taxpayer dollars. Instead, we continue increase pre-planting, and we waste our dollars somewhere wrong place. So now there were two contracts involved. One, I'm going to say very simple, tree supplier. Second, tree planter. All right? So now, if it's a tree dead after plant, then we don't want to know who's the, so now, who's going to be replaced as a responsible for tree after planted trees are dead? Who's responsible? you say tree suppliers are responsible for the tree, 2 years, that's the way actually they told us that, no?
No. Excuse me. Once we accept the trees off of the truck, the tree supplier is resolved of any responsibility of the trees. The tree planter, MJ Hogue, then becomes well, it's kind of a unison deal between, forestry and the planter. So we have to do our due diligence to protect the trees, to make sure they're watered before they go on the ground, and we care for them. But once that contractor, once MJ Hogue takes the tree and places it into the ground, from that point on, it is their responsibility to maintain that tree, water that tree, remove and replace it if it's dead for a 2-year period.
Okay, so the planter is going to be responsible.
Yes.
I give up too, so.
Yes, the planter, yes. That's the answer.
So no,
Yes.
no.
So let me,
Yes, the planter.
one last crack and then, okay, so the trees come from the supplier. In theory, somebody from the Parks and Forestry Department checks to make sure that all the trees that the city has received are healthy.
Right,
and ready to go on the
which is,
ground.
I did that once they came off the truck. I oversaw every tree come off that truck.
Okay, so then now they are under the care of the city until
Until the
MJ
contractor
Hogue puts them in the
transports
ground.
it and puts them in the
Okay,
ground.
they put them in the ground. They're responsible for watering and maintaining for 2 years. But this includes residential streets in front of people's homes,
Yeah.
in parks,
Yeah. Any tree they
everywhere
plant.
across the city. Okay, because I've never actually seen a contractor do that on a street tree.
Yes.
And I've had, well, we all know the problem with the tree permits. But they've never once come, they've never once done that job. So what you're saying is, moving forward, you will be.
This is
will be
the case
documentation
moving
process.
forward.
Okay.
Yes, it
Okay.
was not well enforced
And
previously.
if it helps
Yes.
you rest easily,
To Councilman Yoon's question, so we know that the contractor doesn't water the trees. So moving forward, the tree dies. And then once the tree dies, we want to know who changes that tree.
basically this is how it would go. So we have to provide.
The tree planter, that's
The
it.
tree
Yes,
planter.
that's it.
The
Yes,
person
tree
putting it
planter.
around. But the city
Yes.
has a due diligence to inspect the trees at least biannually, to check for signs of decay or decline or death. And then we have to prepare a list and present it to the contractor, who is then responsible for 21 days at the beginning of the next planting season to replace that tree.
So you guys gonna be,
Watching.
you guys,
Yes.
We're very
We're good.
happy to have the foresters here so they can oversee the process.
No further
and make
questions.
sure
Let's
it's
wrap
done
this up.
correctly.
no, not the photo case, because
Yes.
every year we plant 103 city of Jersey City. So high percent of trees are dead on the street, because I see it.
Yeah.
Now, end of the day, people pay for that. In a neighborhood, they pay for that. The homeowners pay for that, like a couple $100. They plant a tree,
Okay.
the trees are dead.
Yes, no, we're no longer doing that. There's no more fee. And also, we're gonna hold the vendors accountable to make sure these.
Beautiful.
trees live.
As
Yes.
long as you make it clear.
All right.
That's it.
Can I just say one thing? Before
No more. Let's not say anything anymore.
was doing
Let's
contract
not.
supervision for New York Parks and Rec, and I directly oversaw the planting of thousands of trees for New York Parks and Rec. And that's the experience I bring to this table of understanding how to supervise a contract like this. So when I'm talking about that the daily reporting and all that documentation, that is so critical to actually being able to hold the contractor accountable. Because without that, there's not a leg to stand on.
Right.
So that's.
Right.
All right.
Okay,
We get it.
very good.
Okay, I do have one more question.
Well, Councilman Robinson,
James, don't ask too much. That's enough.
Do you work for
Councilman Solomon's gonna have a teenager soon.
Yes.
Oh, you want Jersey
This
City?
is our.
Yes.
I'll go see the vendor.
No, he's our
God.
forester. Ed is our new forester.
Would that conversation have gone easier if you knew?
Actually,
Oh, God.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't here.
Kate,
No,
Yes.
I wasn't here.
Okay, one at a time, let's go.
Kate, you're not with forestry, are you?
No, I'm with the Office of
She's a
Sustainability.
sustainability.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Council-
I thought you come from the vendors.
Okay, Councilman Solomon.
So just, what is with this contract, what is the planting season for the fall? Like what timeline?
The timeline is now until basically into December.
Okay, and you can, even with freezing, you can still keep planting?
Well, yeah, frost, you're fine. It's once the ground freezes, then.
So we can plant until the ground is frozen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because once it's frozen, then.
And then once it thaws up again, yeah.
So,
Yeah, Councilman Robinson? Councilman Robinson.
I just wanted to know, do we have like an Excel spreadsheet sheet of where all the trees are that they, who's the record?
Yes, we do. I can actually provide that to you. The junior forester Ezra actually went out and personally reviewed and inspected each site with the contractor. And then they've identified sites that it's just not possible to plant a tree. And they went and marked it out, they did everything, all the pre-work, and then we provided a full master list to the contractor.
So,
Okay. Okay, very good. That's it. Thank you. Next item.
I was also here for the 1015 and 1016, which are both resolutions authorizing us to submit and execute a grant agreement with the DEP for funding for electric vehicle charging stations. Now, this funding is for electric vehicle charging stations we were already planning on doing, and we've already have a contract in place that we talked with you all about. But we haven't put in place all of them because we were waiting on the funding from the DEP. So this funding is really to complement the projects we were already working on. It's just additional funding source for those electric vehicle charging stations. The reason why there are two resolutions is because the charging stations that are meant for public locations are funded 100% up to are funded up to $6,000. 100%, and then the ones that are for fleet charging are up to $6,000, 80% of the cost. And that's why there are two separate resolutions.
Okay, questions on these? No. The locations, are these finalized?
No, we were waiting to get the locations that are in, yes, they are. But they can be changed if something comes up. For example, we were planning on putting some charging stations specifically for the garbage trucks, but if it turns out that the garbage trucks are coming with their own electric vehicle charging station, then we may move those particular stations to somewhere else where they might be better used.
And if anyone has any requests for charging stations in your ward, which some of you have, we've talked about already, please let us know. That's where a lot of this list came from in the beginning as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last, and certainly not least, we have Joe Bauman. Joe, which item is yours again? 10.12. 1012.
Yeah, maybe so.
10-12?
10.12.
10.12.
10.12. Let me try to look at this out on my phone. Oh.
10.12 is a resolution terminating a cooperative agreement between the city and the JCRA dated March 27, 1998, as amended, relating to the community facility located at 189th Street in the city, former Betts Brewery.
I got a question on that. Going back years ago, I know you wasn't here, you weren't around, most of the people here weren't around. That was supposed to be a community center for the people. And we spent millions of dollars building that building. And then all of a sudden, bang, community center was gone. And they gave it to a charter school. And
It's Hudson County School of Technology.
It used to be a charter school.
Oh, yeah.
all right, what happened to the community center that was supposed to be? Sean, I think, was the mayor at that time. And everybody ranted and raved about it. Now you're coming up and you want to,
In 2015, it was leased to the Hudson County School of Technology, and it has been since.
Yeah, but the point is, when it was built, spent millions of dollars, I think $10 million or more, it was supposed to be a community center for the people downtown, your people. And they totally turned around and shafted the people downtown.
I was part of that movement, and it didn't really happen. So I was part of the league that I ran in both of that area, and it was promised to be a community center.
That's right.
It never was. So it's not, it's been happening for we should have had this argument 15 years ago.
We did, and nobody in the city at that time, the council at that time, didn't want to know nothing. And we spent millions of dollars building that place.
So this is what it is as a council. We're going to ask all the questions, you can answer all together, so maybe each for your life. So now, so 1998, City of Jersey spent $9.5 million. Now, $9.5 million
What's going on?
Deputy?
Folks,
No, so $9.5 million, they built the facility, you know. After that, they used the recreation department, end of that, they went to the charter school, and they went to the vocational school, the Hudson County, whatever is the school days, School of Technology,
Right.
fine, they're useful, fine. But now, we're gonna sell the property to the School of Technology, $7 million. I mean, number-wise, it doesn't make sense at all. And also, we want to know, after we sell the property, that County School of Technology can be closed down. They can sell the very precious, the land piece, another developer with a fortune of money. So it not just sell our land, that the School of Technology, we want to make sure, put in the deed restriction, they only use for their land for school, recreational, or educational institution, nothing more than that. At the community, you know, we gotta put in the deeds clear. If they sell other than that in the future, that a county School of Technology, then they should pay some extra dollar to pay to City of Jersey City, because we already spent $9.5 million.
Got it.
And we give us a land, so that total value is not $7 million. When I see that, the total value is at more than $20 million. So we don't want to just shortchange it, because, you know, so I want to try to make sure that, you know.
That it remains for the students.
Yes, students.
For that
They have
purpose.
to- If they
for
change
education
to-
purposes.
Yeah, education, other than that, then they have to pay City of Jersey extra dollars. You gotta put the contract very clear, so we should get the full investment of what
Is
we
that-
do that years ago.
Is that stipulated in this?
Well, they
agreements, or-
they have a lease, they have an option to acquire the property under the lease, and there was an appraisal done that set the number at $7 million. The money goes back to the city to pay off the bonds, which are mostly already paid off.
We spend more than that to build a place.
In 1998.
How much, Mike?
$9.5
And
million.
we're selling it for, giving it to, we're only getting $7 million back. The property land there is probably worth about $25 million.
Yes.
I think it's
We're scratching
I mean,
ahead.
this is ridiculous.
It's appraised, the appraisal, which is, you know, a real appraisal company.
We respect, we all the respect is
Well,
appraised.
It's appraised based on it being utilized for a school. I
Right,
assume,
and which is the expectation, is it's going to be, continue to be a Hudson
So if
County
it's another
school.
purpose other
That's what
than
the school
that-
does, they
That's what
run
I'm
it.
saying. If they use it at school, maybe their value is $7 million. But if we change, like the way we sell the 4 parking lot space to Hudson Community College, and they never pay the property tax, and they change the ownership, and they try to sell, you know what I'm talking about, you know. We don't want those things repeat again. We are dumb, but we're not that dumb.
I appreciate, okay.
So we're gonna
Make sure that it remains a school, and if it
Yes.
doesn't,
And if they not sell in future any other than recreational, educational, or certain recreational purpose other than that, they should pay Georgia City twice than what they pay, 3 times what they pay to us.
I mean, the item before us is and I don't have it again, so it's
Right, so I-
it's a resolution terminating the agreement between the city and the redevelopment agency, is that?
right, so there's a lease agreement between the Hudson County School of Technology and the JCRA that was executed in 2015, so after whatever you described, that has an option for them to acquire the property, so they have a 30-year lease, they'd be taking title to it. The appraisal sets it at $7 million, and it just terminates our existing cooperation agreement so the sale can go forward.
This particular resolution terminates the cooperation agreement between the city and the redevelopment agency.
Correct.
How did the JCRA even get involved in this? When that
Their
property
project.
was built for a community center, and it was the city's property, how did the JCRA get it?
You enter into
The
an
JCRA has
agreement.
been managing that for long before.
Yeah, right, because
It used to be
15
the
years
best
ago,
brewery, and the redevelopment agency took it over.
In 1998.
the only one around then was probably Bobby Burns, Gunn, and myself, when this went on. And we fought that.
So-
and they-
So I'll provide a little bit of
shared with the
context,
neighborhood.
because I was at the JCRA at the time when it was leased out. It went out to bid to multiple educational institutions, including the Jersey City Public Schools bid on it. The place was bleeding, it was in the red, like repeatedly, year after year. And they weren't generating any revenue from it, and they were saddled with debt from previous years. So I don't recall all the specifics, but at the time, the best offer that came in was the Hudson County Schools of Technology. Everyone at the time thought to themselves, how can we get this to the Jersey City Public Schools? But they literally couldn't put together a package that would, other than the city of Jersey City paying for schools year after year after year on that thing. So that ultimately was the Schools of Technology, and then ultimately the idea of selling the property over time.
As I understand, it's mostly Jersey City students at the school.
So
Primarily.
you know what actually, dollar-wise, the best deal which the city of Jersey can do? Yes, knock it down, sell the land, the property, so the property developer actually, dollar-wise, is a benefit to us, but we pay attention for educational, recreational. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's the reason we like to work with them. $7 million, but if they change the purpose of the usage of the place, then we want a different dollar amount they should.
I understand. Make sure it remains a school in perpetuity.
How can we stipulate that, though, under these circumstances? That's
Yeah.
Yeah, deed restriction, yeah, very clear.
Can I ask you, I mean, I think it's a good question, but can I ask you a question, which is, do we have the ability to reject their offer if we wanted to?
Well, if you don't pass the resolution, we can't go forward with the sale.
Okay, but I mean, because I don't know what the 30-year lease says, but I mean, I think we have a school sort of space crisis in downtown right now. So I'd certainly be interested in exploring the use of that space. I don't know how fully utilized that is for Hudson's Building. I don't know if they're using every space in that, et cetera. So I would like to have a broader conversation about that building before we just as a council say yes to this, because we desperately need school space in downtown.
I agree with you.
Certainly in the short term as well as the long-term challenge. And I don't know if there's flexibility in that, but I'd certainly like to have a longer conversation before, Thursday. So, my recommendation would be we hold this for at least a couple meetings to talk about what's doable.
Yeah, because you know what,
I'm open to do that.
Yeah, no, I understand. From what my understanding, it serves a significant public purpose.
I mean, it's a great, Hudson County School of Technology. It's nice. I mean, it's great, but it's.
We want to know,
I just don't know, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not.
Space,
Right.
I don't know, and then certainly this would take it totally out of our hands. So if we
Sure.
say yes to this, you can't.
So the Hudson County, the Hudson County School of Technology, they are continuing to use their place as a school?
Yeah, I mean, it's Explore 2000 Middle School.
Explore 2000 Middle School, the entire building gets utilized.
Yeah.
Utilized, right?
Yes.
So they have no,
I thought it was falling apart.
It was on life support prior to the
2015.
Hudson County School of Technology getting in there.
oh, then another different deal we talk about. So, we gotta make sure that we cover our side. So now, if Hudson County School of Technology continue to use the facility as a school,
Right.
then not supposed to be $7 million. Because we built the building, spent the $9.5 million
Okay,
land
we're-
to this school giveaway.
We're belaboring that point.
No, so $7 million unacceptable offer, period. So
Understood.
$7 million.
So
We spent more than $9.5 million. So doesn't matter what the appraisal company say that, they should come with different numbers on the table. Other than that, I'm now feel comfortable to sell the building. We spend the $9.5 million, sell the $7 million. Come on. And the $9.5 million, we talking about the dollar is 30 years old.
Well,
If we calculate today's value of that, oh, come on.
the building's also 30 years old, so
Yes,
it's obviously.
fine. But even though 30 years old, the School of Technology is supposed to be continue to keep the maintenance as a good condition. So
The late 90s.
2001.
Yeah, so it's 30 years.
No, it was built about in the second term.
1998.
98, yeah. So still,
31 years.
if it's only
21,
7 million
21.
because of building condition, then we're gonna ask that the school, they should be update all the maintenance and the repair.
So I think my takeaway is you want to have better understanding of what happens there. Right. And
Table it.
better understanding what's in more detail, but my understanding is it's basically run by the School of Technology. But more importantly, to confirm that it will remain as a school in perpetuity. Right?
Yeah, I think, my view is an understanding of what's exactly in the lease. So what are they entitled
as to what are the JCRA's rights and the city's rights. And connected, so that's one sort of question, and connected to what it's used for, is there any space available? And I don't know.
I think they use most of it.
It's being used.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got to clear.
Yeah,
Number one, Council James Donovan say, we got to look into other purposes or other.
Can we get a copy of that
uses
lease? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. number
Electronic,
two,
I think it's.
$7 million is far below the price of what we're looking for. Okay, number
I
three,
mean-
if we have some reason we have to sell the land, then we're gonna make sure that the site, that the building continue to provide the recreation, educational purpose, whatever is that. Other than that, if in the future, when they change that, the purpose of the use of the building, then they should pay a certain extra amount to the city of Jersey.
Okay.
Clear?
I got that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for your patience. And certainly not least, we have our Chief Prosecutor, Jay Cuddutt, with us.
James.
And he's got 10.22.
That's our request.
Table, yeah.
Table it.
Over.
I would love to. Guys, I know.
Folks, 10.22.
James, did you?
And we're getting 10.22.
That's a resolution for the appointment of Nadine Ibrahim as an assistant municipal prosecutor for the municipal court to serve for a term of 1 year.
So we have a vacancy at the prosecutor's office, and I worked closely with Human Resources to advertise the position. We received about 50 to 60 resumes. We followed up with about 6 individuals. Nadine Ibrahim was the choice that I presented to the Corporation Council. I had an interview with her in Human Resources, then we did a tour of the office where she met our support staff and assistant prosecutors, and then the Corporation Council did a phone interview with her. I looked for somebody that had superior court or felony court experience in line with kind of the mindset that I brought to the municipal prosecutor's office. And the reason I'm here tonight instead of her is she is born and bred New Jersey, but she went to Indianapolis for law school. She's a public defender there now, but looking to come back to New Jersey to be closer to family. And so she sat from the New Jersey bar this summer and passed. And she has experience on both sides of the aisle, both as an intern at a felony prosecutor's office and a public defender at a felony public defender's office. I actually see her asset, or her not having practiced in New Jersey as an asset, because she'll be doing our code enforcement. Every town's code enforcement is different, so no matter who I would have hired, they would have been learning code enforcement. Also, I think, as I've said to this council many times, this is a period of municipal court reform in the state of New Jersey, so I think she brings a blank slate in terms of the potential of municipal court. Yes, sir.
Jake, on her resume, which I went over very carefully, in 3 years, she's had 4 jobs. Now this will be her 5th. I mean,
Well, I see her as well-rounded because she has experience on both sides of the aisle. I can tell you that she went solo right out of law school, which I did as well. I think in today's economy and today's market, that quite often happens with people in law school. I had to hang my own shingle, and that's what she did. But Councilman, I think she's only had 2 jobs since graduating law school.
no, it says 16, 18, and 18.
Okay, let me just explain, and the court counsel, any lawyer in the room would back me up on this. Most of these jobs are while she's in law school. These are law clerk jobs that you, like my resume would look similar. I was a clerk, a 3rd-year law student, and a 2nd-year law student, but she received her Juris Doctorate in 2016. All right, everybody's in agreement here? And she hung a shingle for 2 years, and she has been a public defender for almost 2 years.
And she lives in Minnesota now?
She's moving. She moves. Her flight lands the Friday before her hopeful start date, and she will be living in Jersey. She's committed to us that she'll be living in Jersey City.
Yeah, but Jake, let me ask something. What does she know about Jersey City? I'm not knocking her. I mean, I don't know her, but, you know, it's another outsider coming in. And, you know.
Councilman, I advertised the position for 2 months. Nobody, I mean, does she know how to stand up in a courtroom and prosecute cases? Yes. And what I've done over the last year is delivered really strong results for the residents of Jersey City. So I'm going to pick the strongest person with the strongest felony experience, bring them into a misdemeanor courthouse, and she's going to kick landlord ass, she's going to kick slumlord ass, she's going to kick vacant property owner ass, and I think you're going to be quite pleased.
She's gonna kick ass.
No, I mean, yeah, for the record, I mean, look.
Listen, do you know?
No, but my office is kicking ass. Say it today. I'll call the Jersey Journal and tell them to, Councilman.
Let me ask, so Jake,
Yes.
I get that, but what is it about her background? I'm sorry, I don't have a resume in front of me. But, what is it about her background that makes you think that she's going to have those sort of results? Or
Well, one, anyone that hangs a shingle at a young age, that takes a lot of chutzpah, and she made it work. She has trial experience in front of juries, which is important. That's something that, and the Corp Council and I kind of were looking for the same type of person, and not everybody who gets put into a courtroom has the guts to stand up and try a case in front of a jury. Peter did it many times, I did it many times, Ms. Garcia did it many times. Bad lawyers don't take their cases all the way to trial. She did many times. She provided us an extensive list of those trials and those trial results. She was on the defense side for those trials, but they were all acquittals or hung juries. And I think, she told me that when she saw this posting, she initially she didn't know a lot about what it meant to be a prosecutor, but she Googled what we've been up to. She's been up to our website, and she appreciated the fact that we're standing up on behalf of tenants and standing up on behalf of people that feel wronged by quality of life violations. So she sees the transition from being public defender to this kind of proactive prosecutor to be an easy transition to make, much like the transition that I made a year and a half ago.
Jay, did you meet her personally?
Yes.
Do you like her?
I like her. She's a, Councilman, I assure you she's a Jersey girl.
Okay. I'm just, I'm being honest with you, I'm tired of people from outside coming here and they don't know anything about Jersey City. You say she's good.
Thank you. Trust me. And if I'm wrong, you can hold me to it.
I think if I can just add, just to kind of add on to what Jake has been saying, the skill set that she presents is, I would say, difficult to find at someone with her, her years out of law school. She has multiple jury trials, and she's won multiple jury trials. And, it's easier to teach specific matters of a local law than it is to teach someone, to give someone the experience that she has being on her feet in court successfully, with a demonstrated track record of success like she has.
And we did have my first assistant and I had a phone conference with the county public defender that she works for, and the recommendation was completely solid.
Okay, so she's gonna kick a lot of ass.
Yes.
All right, good. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
I'm getting generous with our language here. All right, folks. If there's no other questions for
Thank you.
Jake, thank you.
Tom?
Yes.
Top, there's only two ordinances.
You're going to have to read them out, Robert.
I will.
Okay.
3.1 is an ordinance rescinding ordinance 16-011 and terminating the tax exemption and financial agreement with 305 Westside Avenue Urban Renewal LLC. That was reported in the newspaper. 3.2 and 3.3 agreement.
Mira, Councilperson Prinzari.
Yeah, that's, are there any questions about this? As you guys know, this has been a problem property for about going on close to 2 years now. We were originally going to rescind the abatement when we did the one earlier this year, but the developer had some problems with their general contractors, so we agreed to work with her. She did not meet the criteria that we laid out, and then we heard nothing, and now they're in default of a payment to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So it's very cut and dry, and we worked with her and we're very, it needs to go. It's time.
Okay.
So can I ask just a simple question? Because the last time
And when you talk about the revoke the tax for the two, this is the one of the case. At the time, they have a problem with contractors, so actually, city council feels sorry to her that we actually extend the tax abatement to continue. But and when I read it, the Jersey Journal, one item that she bring up the issue about that some kind of documentation was. What is it?
So basically, what my understanding of the situation is, was she had a problem with one of her two general contractors, and they took the copy of the stamped plans. We worked with construction to get them new copies to give them the file. There are permits on the SDL portal. All the information is there. Every time I went back to them to ask them where they were and getting back on track to work, I was told the city's not giving us information. I would call the agency and they would provide the information, and it became a round robin circle of her blaming the city and the city saying, we've given this to you. When they filled out the original application for the abatement, all the plans were there. You have to do that as part of the contract. So they could have gone to the original application and pulled the plans from there. So it's just, we met back in March. We had email correspondence in May, June, July, August. They were also supposed to do another examination of the building to make sure that there were no additional structural issues, and the work still never moved forward, and then it was radio silence. And when they missed the payment, then that was very cut and dry. She cannot say that, well, she couldn't work because she didn't have the stamped plans on site, so she was not able to fulfill the requirements. That's fair. That's why we wanted to work with her. Nobody wants to see a project fail. I don't want to see a project fail in my ward, but this thing has been an eyesore for 2 years. We've had multiple issues with them. It took them 3 months to put in a temporary sidewalk when I asked them at the beginning of last year, and they're just, it's time to rescind the abatement and move on from this project.
So in other words, they simply blame the city side.
Correct, correct.
That's
And
not
some of the
fair.
information in the paper, in my opinion, was definitely not an accurate portrayal of the situation. I can show you the email. It's all there.
Okay? All right.
Okay.
We got ordinance 3.4.
No, I'm angry.
Folks,
Been working on this a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
folks.
Flavored tobacco products, and I know the corporation council wrote an email today about this is gonna need some working. Which one is this?
Anyone want to speak on that?
3.4.
Folks? No.
I didn't see the email.
No, just simply because the title that's in the agenda is inaccurate. It says ordinance banning vaping of flavored tobacco products. It's not banning vaping, it's banning the sale of
distribution of
flavored
vaping products.
Exactly.
Right, because they was asking me, is it banned? And I said, no.
And I'm not sure where the
I just want to make sure when you
All right,
put
repeat that title, an ordinance banning the sale of.
So I just emailed everyone the possible title, which is not the council, the law department and the clerk. Ordinance banning the sale and/or distribution of electronic smoking devices that deliver flavored tobacco products. It's specific to. It's not all tobacco products. It's not all flavored tobacco products. It's the vaping, the electronic devices. That piece of it.
And the cartridges and the liquids.
The liquids.
So we're gonna spell out all the
flavors.
Not all the flavors.
Not all, but it's some in here.
There was a general list of categories: dessert flavor, fruit,
Bubblegum.
Cotton candy.
I'm asking
Targeted
you.
towards children.
I asked them guy who smoke. This is truthfully good to know. That guy has they have 20 different flavor, small bottle. And he tell me that he mixed his own creative flavor.
He mixes flavor.
Yes, flavor. So even though we say coconut flavor, cherry flavor, but the way they creative flavor actually, it's not there. You know what I'm saying? So
And making cocktails. Like
yes, they make a cocktail.
Like ices.
It's not on the list in here.
All right.
So we can make sure that.
There'll be a good black market, that's all.
Yeah.
For those of us who are old and not cool, can you guys help explain what's going on and why you guys are doing this?
This kind of extended from conversations with school board. Yeah, we've been meeting with the school board about funding for the last few months, and You know, it's just a problem with what like the middle school kids are really out here doing more and more vaping. Plus, you know, we've been seeing on the news lately that people, you know, people getting sick and dying. You know, I don't know if it's because of black market, I don't know if it, but my thing is, and I said it before, like this is just, the flavors I think are, you know, it's just big tobacco really out here trying to get more and more customers. You know, it was the same thing that happened, you know, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, when they was trying to use cartoon characters to entice kids to go into smoking. And we truly believe that the flavors are doing the same exact thing.
So it's specifically targeting the flavors?
Just
The flavors.
Anything else?
No, just the
Candy,
flavor.
bubble gum.
The kids have a series, the schools have a series
How are we going to
program.
enforce it?
So that's one of the questions we've been working on. I mean,
Yeah, that's
we've
true.
been, I talked to the health department, Stacy. So, and we still need to have some more conversations about that. We just want to make sure that we really get ahead of the.
Put it first.
Yeah.
So the my things one, you know, just we're gonna make sure that somebody uses their e-cigarette, and the city inspector, cherry flavor, I'm gonna give it a ticket.
It's not the use of it, it's the sale and distribution of it.
As I said,
Yeah.
even though not sales and distribution, but when they purchased it, they purchase each flavor, and they make their own cocktail. What is the cocktail? They make
Yeah.
own.
Right.
So actually, their flavor, you cannot make a definition of their flavor. They make own flavor. You know what I'm saying? I think so. I agree with you 100% the banning for the flavor, but how we gonna do that? That's why my concern. You know, how we gonna be?
But you know, if it's under the Cigarette Law Act, you can't smoke until you're 21.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be able to purchase it.
Yes.
See, that's
So
we're
already
trying to
the
talk
law.
to kids now. Adults, you know, that's their choice, and they can mix whatever. But this is targeted for children. So if a minor comes into a store and want to purchase something right away, the store owner should not
Yes.
sell it, because even in certain areas they sell loosey cigarettes that they shouldn't.
So banning the age.
So you're really going to have to really
Right.
have an
So banning
enforcement.
the e-cigarette certain age, it makes sense.
That's it.
But now flavors, but you know what? There are a lot of genius people in the Georgia City come up with some great ordinance to we can ban the things. Good luck.
And I think as far as a practical matter goes, I think the large majority of the flavored liquids are prepackaged. There's Juuls, I think, is the main brand. They're prepackaged pods and pre-mixed, and it's abundantly clear what they are. I think the scenario you're suggesting exists, but it's a small minority of what the market is.
What's the age to buy cigarettes, 18 to
21.
21.
Well, how are they selling these things then to the kids that are under 21?
I think it might be the classic, hey, go buy this for me, 22-year-old.
My kids always got cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, just, yeah.
Any comments?
And because there was no band, I could.
Okay.
There was no band. The kids was walking in the store purchasing
I
it.
think they did fine.
This is just going to restrict it. So,
What's the questions? Any comments or
No, I
questions?
just make sure that
Okay.
our business administrator tasted all the flavor. They come out tell us which
Okay.
flavor
Not
is
tasted
that.
any of the flavors.
Let's continue to move through
All right.
our agenda.
Great.
That completes our first reading. Second reading ordinances.
Second reading ordinance, I just, you know.
So carrying,
1 and 2, sir.
So 4.1.
carrying over 4.1, 4.2?
I think again, unfortunately. Working on not doing that, but I think we need one more.
What is it?
I think we need one more.
Carrying over 4.1 and 4.2.
Are you gonna carry over?
Yeah.
One more meeting.
One more time, just one more time.
One more time?
I promise. Well, I can't promise.
4.3, the financial analysis from NW has been added to this as an attachment, so it'll be in there,
Okay.
but you can't see it now.
I can't see it now. Okay.
What is it, 4.3?
The financial analysis.
analysis that's been added from NW.
Yeah, in the package, but this is very interesting, the discussion I made with the gentleman who make a presentation last council caucus meeting. So I'd like to share with all the council members.
Councilman's feeling better.
Oh, you are, okay, go. So you can have a break. Anybody else, NJCU? Okay, go. So if anybody's common sense, I'd like to pay attention a little bit. I mean, the NJCU gonna sell the land to developer $5 million.
So the land sale to develop for $5 million. After that, NJCU give back $3 million to the developer for exchange with 23 affordable housing units. So end of day, NJCU get $2 million. So now, so then I asked him that what is the cost to build PAC for performing arts centers? The performing arts center will be built by developer, and they're going to sell that the units to NJCU by very minimum price is say $48 million. So when I see the whole project, oh no, I didn't ask you. God help. So when I see this deal, the NJCU didn't get any benefit out of the deal. In the meantime, developer able to build 343 units, the apartments, which is actually
Why is there two links here?
Yeah, I don't know.
zero apartments supposed to build.
The financial analysis I was looking for.
That's why I was wondering. I mean, this one I heard from that gentleman who made a presentation to the city council last city council caucus meeting. I mean, if we have anybody has a normal mass knowledge in there, I mean, I'm not going to say that, but it doesn't make any sense to us. It's not the matter of the affordable housing. They build affordable housing not to free. NJCU pay them $3 million for them. I mean, and what get the city going to get it? Nothing.
The city is getting the ballet school, the
Job
city is
for ballet.
getting programs for Jersey public school kids, they're getting programs for recreation, they've already had those meetings with them. They put all of that into RDA, they're getting affordable units, which there's 0 affordable units in this entire project so far.
But that I understand.
And it's no abatement, so we did 4 projects before this with abatements, and what did you ask for?
No.
Where were the benefits then?
So no.
Well, he didn't vote for it.
You know, what is this one? NJCU, if we look at just the deal itself, I mean, they have no reason to bring up the developer to ask them build the PAC in their place, because they build the PAC, the NJCU gonna pay to developer $48 million.
But still, you don't want NJCU to pay the developer, that's your issue.
No, they can pay back. But I mean, if you see, you pay attention to what I say. I mean, if we see that the numbers.
He's saying they're not getting anything out of the deal.
NJCU isn't.
That's what
Nothing.
he's saying. That's what he's saying.
That's NJCU decision.
Right.
You say right, that's NJCU decision. But meantime, the developer get 343 units they're gonna build. And which is a
And
joint.
we're getting the tax revenue from that.
The city.
City get $1.4 million tax revenue.
Okay.
1.2, 1.4. You know what I'm saying? So now, we look at all the numbers then again. So NW Finance, I'm going to give credit, they're getting smarter, right? These institutes are going to pay attention. They're very get smarter every time. What they say now, all these numbers, they analyze, finance analysis, based on the number provided the developer. So now, if you see all those numbers, it's funny. If they build a 340 unit apartment, they say market value $93 million based on when they see the cap value 5.5. So now, the estimate project cost, they put you $85 million. I don't know, actually, the estimate project cost really $85 million. So net value, they claimed $8.5 million. That I'm wondering, and another one, they say, operating expensive, they put you, the operating expense, they put it in.
But Michael, we don't know anybody's numbers unless you do the research yourself.
No.
We get numbers all the time.
No. So,
we go off of the numbers that they give us. I mean,
Yes.
you can do your own research and verify their numbers, but,
No.
I mean, we don't know anybody's numbers if you say that.
you know what? You're the council for the location. I'm not arguing
Yes,
with that.
I'm the council person in that
Yeah.
location.
I
A
only
location
just-
that hasn't had much of anything
Yes.
in a long
Then-
time.
then
And
let
we
me-
haven't had
let me-
anything like this in forever.
So
We're not rich.
let me turn down this one.
We got a museum coming
Okay,
in this
okay.
Lord. We got this coming here.
Let's-
Okay.
This
Count-
there.
You know what?
Councilman Yun, I think, is conceding here.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, it's all right. So,
Okay,
all right, let's go.
very good.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. James, someone let James know we're not talking about MUCU anymore? Until he walks in and we'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, any other questions on second reading ordinances?
But I'm
Second
gonna say
readings.
this, 4.5 and 4.6. 4.5 and 4.6. This is, I think, sponsored by Councilman Rich Bujano. I'm going to give you some credit. You did a great job.
Okay, good.
4.4%.
Okay,
We'll go to resolutions.
let's go to resolutions.
One,
What?
this is,
No, 4.6 is the garbage.
Council members?
no, 4.5.
Yep, everything's good. 4.5 to 4.6.
All right, 10.1.
Wait, 1 second, because we did have a discussion on 4.6 last time. Are we gonna move forward with the permits, or did we decide that we're just gonna try to change the time of garbage collection in general?
All right.
I think I'm happy with the, and really the way they addressed 4.6. This is right.
We gotta pull the,
Which one?
I know, we're almost done.
Which one?
Okay.
Parkington?
All right, 10.1, we're accepting grants and appropriating them. We did 10.2. Council members, 10.3, is the time 3:30 PM for caucuses or 4 PM?
3:30 was okay? 4? 3:30? Okay,
I'll get here like around 3:30.
okay. Let's just say 3:30 then.
3:30.
All right, we're gonna change the time to 3:30.
All these.
I'll be here by 3:30.
All right, 10.4, we're changing the date and time of the regular meeting scheduled for November 26th to December 4th at 6:30 PM. The room is booked, and we're
Why not,
going,
why not 6? Why
6:30 or?
because the room is booked.
It's booked for graduation, they just, it's too many.
Oh, okay.
But they're gonna be out by 6:15, so we can.
Okay, understand.
10.5, authorizing refunds. We already passed the resolution. Now we're authorizing the refunds to New Jersey Court tax appeals on various property tax accounts. 10.6, authorizing the BA to execute.
Can we just get that, and again, I don't have it in front of me, but can we get the vote for the resolution that approved that? I don't remember if I voted for it or not. So, can we just pull that vote out so I can? 10.5, the prior resolution that approved the refunds itself.
10.6, authorizing the BA to execute a discharge of mortgage at 59 Bidwell. We did 7, 8, and 9, and 10 are honorary. We're honoring the residents of Oberhavel, Germany, honoring Stevie Clifton as a Grace Van Voorst volunteer extraordinaire, as well as Mary Graham Aiken Grace as a Van Voorst volunteer. Should be a Grace Van Voorst.
Okay,
We did 10 and 11. 13, we did not. It's authorizing the waiver of metered parking fees in certain municipal lots. November 29, December 31. This is our annual meter amnesty program and parking lot amnesty. We did 1015 through 1020. 1021 is settling action entitled Itlia Guerrero versus the City of Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services. 22 we did. 23 is authorizing the city to enter into an affordable housing agreement with Monitor Maple Urban Renewal LLC. 1024 is a resolution amending a professional services agreement with Cagney and Konevsky LLP.
can we go back to 1023?
Sure.
So on 1023, this was, again, don't have it, but according to my notes, it was a 20-year affordability requirement on the 5% of units. Was that specifically written into the plan, or is that, why not do 30 years?
I don't know. I don't have it.
Somebody to,
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you find out?
yeah, can we find that out? That's,
So,
that's kind of our minimum as we're talking about it, inclusionary zoning, right? So it's,
I mean, this one, the 72 units, they want the 5%, and only 3 units gonna be affordable housing units. Yeah?
Go ahead.
Yeah, but we talk about the inclusionary far more than 5%.
Right.
If you guys, God bless you, you get 9 breasts, say, special. So, it's okay, I feel uncomfortable a little bit. But,
well, we already approved this redevelopment plan.
We
Yeah?
did this before, yeah.
Yeah, it was years ago.
Approving the agreement as
Right.
opposed to the plan.
Yeah.
This is what. Can I ask a question? So, who on our team kind of drafted the agreement?
Do you have any idea who drafted?
I don't
I'll
know.
get back to you on that, I'm not sure.
Just the reason I was asking, was this is not just for this agreement, but for all agreements.
Right.
It's a problem we've seen in downtown. Is when the AMI shift, sometimes the people who are living in the units, like, experience like a 10% rent increase. Or more than that. So it's like, okay, this is 80% AMI, you move in,
Right.
AMI might shift up 10%, and then so the landlord says, okay, well, I'm gonna charge you rents.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I would love for us to, in all the agreements, you know, basically limit, like you start at 80% AMI or whatever, but then
Okay.
limit, you know, increases to CPI or something like that.
Sure.
Just because we've seen it here where people said, look, I moved in for 1 year and now I can't afford the rent because
Correct.
AMI went up so much.
Right.
Okay.
And could we, since you bring that up, I'm reminded of, there's no tax abatement on this development at this point, right? So could we restrict this to Jersey City residents as eligible applicants? I raised this before in previous conversations.
We did a little bit of research on that, and right now, the state of the law is basically saying no. There's a case that's pending in New York, and that's pending, but there was one out of California, and what happened was, traditionally, you can't do it, because historically, what had happened was that, let's say it's Jersey City, it was, let's just use an example, it was an all-white community, right? So they're saying, okay, we're just gonna have this housing, but it's only gonna be for the community, so you're keeping
Correct.
other people out. So it was used for purposes, excuse me,
Yeah, it's like Mount Laurel. I can
sort of
see it.
continuing that segregation. So now, like California had a case, I don't know if it was San Diego or San Francisco, they wanted to do it to put a stop to the gentrification, which is what we're looking to do. But the courts there said, yeah, but you know what? That could be your intent, but you could end up doing the same thing. Regardless of what your intent is, you can't just have that preference. Only the people who live here can do it, because you're still having preferences that they don't observe as being legal. So the state of the law there's a case that said, no, you can't. Like I said, it's pending in New York, but it seems to be that although your intent may be different, the discrimination is still the same.
Same, yeah.
So right now, the law is leaning towards,
So-
no, you can't.
Councilman James, I just want to make sure that if it is affordable housing based on 80% AMI, if tenant will stay the one use, when you go 2022, area 80% AMI get higher, more than the living cost increase in the Jersey City, then not many people have to afford, it's more difficult. So you try to increase the rent, and second year is not increase more than the living costs, so, you know, whatever it is. Then we can put in there, maybe, so, whatever is less, you know, less than CPI, or the 80% AMI is increased, so whatever is less, we go with them. I think that we can protect the people.
I agree. The language makes sense.
Yeah.
So is there going to be an amendment to the language on that?
Yeah.
Brian, we work with you guys.
Brian?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So,
Are we looking to do that before Thursday, or is that?
Ideally,
Yeah, I'm not sure what we can
I mean,
change.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can, it's, the answer kind of, it depends whether it's gonna be, what the changes are, whether it's gonna be.
Yeah, so we're gonna look into it.
so affordable housing unit price increase.
Yeah.
After first year increase, not more than, or less than living cost increase, or, and the AMI in the 80 AMI.
Yeah.
So whatever is increased less, that's the way when you can increase the bill, okay?
Yeah, we'll look into it.
So we can protect the
What's
people,
that,
right?
less?
The less.
Whatever's less.
Okay.
Okay, 24. We've spoken about this at a couple of meetings, Cagney and Konevsky for issues related to employment,
Can I ask again,
organizational practices.
What is the?
why not make this a claim?
It's a matter of, I would say, form at this point, whether we simply extend the contract or make it as a claim. As a general matter, a claim would be paid if there were a claim submitted by the requesting party, or I would say it could also be theoretically in response to litigation. That does not exist here. It's simply an extension of a contract to provide for payment in full for the work that was performed. There's not been a claim, there's not been a request for payment in the form of I would say, a threat of litigation from the vendor in this matter, but, and in light of that, and it was not deemed necessary to do it as a claim, it could be done as an extension of a contract, and that was the purpose of the closed session we had last month.
What about the
We had the closed session about it last month, I can talk to that first.
future, so it's for services performed as opposed to, say, future services, correct?
In this case, yes, it is for past sort of work that was performed.
So, again, I don't have the document in front of me, so I would like to see some language just amending that would clarify that to say that it's because if I recall correctly, it still was left open-ended as to whether or not there'll be future services potentially.
I don't have it in front of me,
Yeah.
Council President, but I believe the change was made, I can confirm that. That set an end date for the contract of, I believe it was November 3rd of this year, which would allow for repayments and transmittal. So it would cap the end date. So, unfortunately, again, I don't have that in front of me.
Okay.
I'll confirm that before Thursday.
This is the we pay balance, right?
Yes.
Balance.
The balance is about $44,000.
Yeah, so this is like we paying balance, right?
Yes.
It's not a new contract, anything like that?
Correct.
Okay. And the employee organization practices, their case is over? No. It's not ongoing anymore?
I can say, we do not anticipate there will be any additional services provided on this matter.
All right.
Okay, 1025.
Yes.
We want to hold, because the language isn't strong enough, and the people that are involved in this, from the Journal Square Association, Hilltop, the girls and guys that are involved in it, want to go over this and want to make a change a little bit of the wording.
So we made some changes to the wording at that request. We are.
Who'd you speak to, Brian?
What's that?
Who'd you speak to?
Katrina?
You made the changes?
Yes. So the changes that we're proposing, they're in here now. They more specifically indicate that the park will cover the full 3 acres of the property, and that it will be in conformance to the Journal Square 2060 plan. So there was, the community was concerned that this would not, the whole property would not become a park, but we put language in there to make that clear. We can still make changes until Thursday too, if you want. But I emailed you, Katrina, just a couple hours ago to say what the changes were.
Because Laura contacted me. And she,
Okay.
And Kim, okay, so you spoke to her?
Yeah, I can email Laura too. I can email her.
Just, we want to make sure that this is a non-binding MOU.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, the plan is though, no matter how it's written here, is to make the entire property a park, and
So
the
now-
city's gonna be responsible for
Yeah.
that.
So now, the city has we're gonna pick up the cost of the demolish the building, correct?
Yes.
We're picking up everything.
So now, not only the building demolished, and they have some issues, environmental issues that the building, you know that, right? So we pick up all the cost of the clean the land, whatever
Yes.
is contaminating, that's what we do.
Yes.
So, and after that, the design of the park, the make actual park, City of Jersey we pay. No.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
No, most of it will be paid for by a fund from developers that are all doing all the trouble.
No, but.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, we don't know how we're gonna fund it yet, but
Okay,
the
all
responsibility
right. Thank
is.
you, thank
yeah.
you.
So,
Yeah.
till somebody step in to pick up some costs, and any developer when they pick up some costs,
Yeah.
they're not gonna give us a free for that, they have some exchange, so the number one. Number two, now, we print all those things effort, and it's not the city park, it'll be county park, because the
Well-
properties belong to county.
So, yeah, technically, they will be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of it. So
Yeah,
we're not
that's
gonna have any additional costs after that. That's the reason for that as well,
Yeah,
one of the reasons.
still, it's a county park then.
Yeah,
No, Michael, that decision has been made. Brian.
okay,
That's where some of this, what I was saying.
okay.
It's unknown whether the city's going to run it or the county will run it. I prefer the county run it, being honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, the non-binding memorandum
So non-binding.
suggests
so
otherwise.
Still talking, you know what I'm saying, so it's not a big of deal.
The cost of the park, all the developers that we're meeting with in General Square, they voluntarily want to donate money
Yeah,
towards this.
yeah.
In a special fund because they want the park to all these
Oh, yeah.
people.
And that's ideal, but we don't have those commitments yet, so we
don't.
can't say like, oh, we have 5 million here and 10 million there. Yeah.
What's the estimated cost?
We don't know yet. I mean, we're gonna have to,
We don't know.
yeah.
MO?
We don't know.
Well, they initially talked 12 to 15 million.
Demolish the things for another $20
We
million.
paying for this
Clean the
park.
stuffs.
We ain't got no authority
it's
over
true.
it.
That's what,
Mike, it's 5 years from now down the road.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's years, and we have the next few years to put that money together, so that's the.
Bear in mind, they have to build the new Gorini building, move all the services out of 595 to the new building, and vacate everything from it.
That's another dispute.
The county doing a $300-500 million courthouse, they can't.
And they can't pay for this park?
$20 million a building.
They got more money than we do.
Why are we knocking the building down?
And that's
I
the
don't get
truth.
it.
Because
County has much more money.
Because their original proposal or idea was to
Build a quarter of the park.
build a quarter of the park,
That's
of
right.
space as a park, and then build development.
And I think,
And we're gonna put
rest
residential
of it,
units there, yeah.
I think, whether you call it a
So
city park.
if we do it, we don't get residential units, is what you're
Well,
saying.
we want a park there, yeah. The community
So
really
the-
needs a park.
The city, if we put out the money to knock the building down and build a park,
then we
there
can
is no
have,
residential unit.
Right,
no, then we can have a 3 acres of park.
yeah.
If we invest the money, we can 3 acre park. If county take over, then maybe we have only 1 acre land at the park. Maybe they sell the 2 acre, the land to sell, to develop, to cover the cost of the demolished buildings, so on. But simple, today, they're gonna build up the 3 acre park. The city of Jersey duties, they will get demolished, clean up the land,
And pay
we
for
build
the
the park,
We
we
gonna
pay
pay
for the
for the
park,
park.
and still the park belong to county.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We getting the worst deal.
No.
Yes, we
Nothing
are.
says it belongs to the county. That hasn't been decided.
That's what the MOU said.
That's what it said.
No,
It is.
There's
So how we vote on this is, that's
Right.
what the MOU said, and
there's future
Table.
negotiations.
Yes, it's non-binding, so future negotiation. You say right.
It is a non-binding memorandum of understanding,
Non-binding.
although I will suggest that the basic roles are spelled out, so.
Correct.
And if the language, as I read it, unless it's been amended, says that, that those roles is what's going to be memorialized in a detailed agreement between the two parties.
I think at the end of the day, it's going to be park space for a part of the city that is
Let them pay for it.
We have a motion by Councilman Rivera to adjourn at 8:03, seconded by Councilperson Prinzary. By everyone in attendance, say goodnight. We are out of here.